join me as I introduce you to the Lift as You Rise Emotional Intelligence Show with Gertis, where we discuss this journey on uncomfortable conversations and how we can handle them.
We're going to talk about how to make those awkward silences turn into meaningful, thoughtful conversations. Hi, Sheila.
Hi, it's so good to be back, Gertis, and honestly, I've missed being here. And I'm here to learn. I'm always learning on this show, and I feel like every time we do an episode, it's always very timely with what I'll be going through in my own life. So I'm excited to learn about uncomfortable conversations, and really I hope that somebody will be able to take away from this some tips on, how to navigate the many uncomfortable conversations we face in different aspects of our lives. So I'm so excited, and I know you've got all the nuggets. I know you're going to come with the lessons. So yeah, I'm ready to hear it all.
I know you've got the nuggets as well. And I think you're right. No one really wants to talk about what's uncomfortable. It's one of those things that you'd rather not talk about, to be honest. But get ready to be uncomfortable, or rather comfortable, as we talk about this.
Yes.
What do you think it is? What is it?
Well, I think in terms of just in general with uncomfortable conversations, I think as humans, we are avoidant. And we're very good at avoiding in life anything that makes us uncomfortable. We don't like doing things that make us uncomfortable as a default position. Comfort zones?
Yes.
When people say, oh, you need to learn to come out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
There's a reason why that phrase is there. It's because we don't like coming out of the normal comfortable thing we're used to doing. So if our normal behaviors doesn't like coming out of our comfort zones, what more conversations? Why would we choose to come out of a comfortable, good, especially here in the UK. We're very we do the small talk thing very well, oh, it's a lovely day today, oh, the sun's shining, oh yeah. Yes. And we do all of that. Yeah. And sometimes we can do that while we're being very fake and not being real with the person. And I think it's just something that we just are accustomed to sometimes, that we just would rather not have an uncomfortable conversation, and we like to get on with life with the pleasantries and whatever makes the day go by, basically. Yes. Whatever makes the day go by.
Well, that's so interesting, because what I'm getting from what you're saying is, for something to be uncomfortable, it depends on other things as well.
Yes.
What are some of the examples of that?
I think for me, what would make something uncomfortable, and I say this probably, I've learned it in marriage, is that the environment in which a conversation is brought up in can determine whether that actually is an uncomfortable conversation or not.
Yeah.
In the example of marriage, that sometimes a topic that can be very uncomfortable, even if it's finances or certain things about family differences, in-laws, whatever, that conversation can be uncomfortable, but actually it can be made very comfortable if you bring it up in a comfortable environment. So when you're chilling and you're watching TV, you haven't summoned a meeting with your husband or your wife, so we need to discuss something. So already how you break down the conversation, the environment around how you create that conversation can determine whether it's going to be uncomfortable or not.
Uncomfortable conversations are highly sensitive, difficult conversations. They're very uncomfortable, and no one prepares you for that.
Likewise, a conversation that shouldn't be uncomfortable, i.e., baby, I like that hair, but sometimes I would prefer it if you get that hair. It's not really an uncomfortable conversation, it's just a comment. But how you say it and the context of where you say it can change that one comment from being comfortable to very uncomfortable. So I think environment is a key thing. That's what I would say personally.
Yeah.
Environment determines a lot about whether something becomes comfortable or uncomfortable.
Yeah. I also think when you're dealing with something that's sensitive as well. For example, say you're talking, you just gave an example of hair.
Yes.
Most black people will probably wear weaves or wigs.
Yes.
If it's someone commenting about your wig, it can easily turn out to be an uncomfortable conversation.
Yes.
If we comment to each other, it's actually perfectly normal. So context. I think context also determines whether a conversation is comfortable or uncomfortable.
Do you know, it's an interesting thing that you mentioned, the one about the wigs, because actually that's something that I've broken down the barrier for in my own personal life.
Yeah.
With I'll say with white people around me, because I go to court for my main job. And actually about 3 weeks ago, I turned up at court and I was talking to one of the barristers, and obviously he knows me, so he saw my face and we started having a conversation.
Yeah.
Now the clerk, she knows me very well.
Yeah.
She didn't recognise that I was there. So she came up to the barrister and she said, "Oh, good morning, Mr. So-and-so. Oh, we're just still waiting for Miss Simbi, she's not here yet." And I went, "Oh, no, I'm here." I didn't see you there. Oh, you look different. And what I did in that moment for her, which I acknowledged, is I broke down the barrier. Rather than making her feel uncomfortable to say, "I didn't recognise you because your hair looks different to last week," I jumped in first and I said, "Oh, I know, it's because I'm always changing my wig." I said it for her. So rather than that being something that she had to feel uncomfortable about, I owned it. And I said, "I know you didn't recognise me because last week I had black hair, today I've got blonde. I understand." And what you do there in that moment is you break down what doesn't have to be an uncomfortable conversation. Because she could have reacted in a way, because of her own embarrassment, she could have reacted in a certain way and not known the right thing to say in that moment. And then I could have then taken offence to it straight away and gone, "Well, that was rude. She didn't even acknowledge that black people wear wigs. Of course I wear wig. That's not fair." Because she didn't know. And in that moment, it was an innocent, "Oh, Miss Simbi, I didn't see you." And so sometimes we are also can be the ones who can control whether the conversation has to be uncomfortable or not. So now I can joke about it and laugh about it. When I go to court, I can actually say, "Oh, do you like my hair? I've changed my hair again today." It's something that we actually made very comfortable. She can also come in and say, "Oh, I do like this one, but I don't like the one you had last week." She's free to say that. I've broken. She's free to say that. I've broken down that barrier that she doesn't have to tiptoe around me and say, "Oh, do I think that Sheila's comfortable when we talk about her hair?" No, actually, I'm okay. You can actually tell me that you like my other wig and you don't like this wig. There's nothing wrong with that. You're just another human being. And let's not create discomfort where it doesn't actually really exist. Let's not create it.
I like what you're saying because in terms of emotional intelligence, Sheila, I always refer back to it. Because that's like what the show is about. It's one of those things that for you to be able to handle an uncomfortable conversation, you've got to have it with yourself. So growth starts from a place of discomfort. So in other words, you can actually grow beyond your comfort zone. If you're able to talk to yourself about what is uncomfortable to you. For example, if I live a lie, say I'm lying about something, I'm pretending to be a person that I'm not. If I'm able to have that uncomfortable conversation with myself, say, "Listen, Gertis, are you really a doctor?" And I'm able to answer myself saying, "No, I'm not." And then I'm sort of asking myself, "So why are you doing this?" And then as you start to think about that, the real discomfort starts to be comfortable. But because it's happening within yourself to yourself, when someone else addresses it with you, that's probably taken away the discomfort from that potential uncomfortable conversation. So I think that's one of the most important points about uncomfortable conversation. You've got to be able to have it with yourself before you can even start it with somebody else, or before you can even respond it appropriately when someone else has it with you.
Wow, that's deep.
The latest episode, which was the one to do with identity, and I think you had some nuggets in there that really makes you understand and realize the importance of knowing yourself and what you're about before you can deal with the rest of the world. So keep doing what you guys are doing. Love the show. Look forward to many more shows. Thank you.
And I think I guess that goes to that point, is that how many people are actually comfortable with having an uncomfortable conversation with themselves?
That's where you start. Have it in your conscience that there is something called an uncomfortable conversation. Find out what your triggers are. Whenever anyone asks you something, what makes you nervous when you're asked about? The minute you start identifying those things, have time with yourself, discussing with yourself why they make you nervous. It might be that someone is like a torch to the fake life that you've been hiding all along. So because they are so honest and they're so authentic, they're probably reflecting the light, or they're like a mirror to who you are trying to hide. So the minute that person has contact with you, it becomes a difficult kind of appearance before they even open their mouth. So whatever they're likely to say, it's likely to be an uncomfortable conversation.
Yes, and I think, you know what, that's actually so deep, because I think often people blame somebody else for bringing an uncomfortable conversation to them, rather than blaming or retrospectively thinking about how they dealt with that conversation. It's always, well, that was an appropriate time. They should have said it to me then. Why did they do that then? Why did they do that? And they always blame everybody else for how somebody else approached them, rather than how they received it. And obviously what you're saying now is how you receive things has a lot to do with how you yourself have spoken to yourself.
Yes.
It's nothing to do with somebody else's delivery. It's your reception of it, and the reason why you received it as something, and is because of how you see yourself. And I guess that goes back to what I've just said about the weave, is that I am not uncomfortable with the fact that I wear weave.
Yeah.
So I've got no reason to be offended if a white counterpart doesn't understand that I've changed my hair 3 times in 1 week. Why would I be offended when I know that's what I've done? What's there for me to be angry with that person about for commenting on something that I know I've done? And then I'm holding them to blame, as if to say they're stupid for being confused or they're ignorant. No, they're not being ignorant. It's just that they don't do it. So I have that emotion to understand, well, my white counterparts don't wear new weave every day. So why do I expect them to understand that I do? So all I'm doing is accepting.
Our hair is different.
Yes.
Ours can be so difficult to manage.
Yes.
So you've got your reasons for doing what you're doing.
Yes.
And it's probably an opportunity for you to educate the other person about why things happen the way they do. On that, you've just reminded me of something very important. I know there's more serious ones than wigs and weaves over there.
Yes.
But I think the best way to handle uncomfortable conversation is to use something called intellectual humility.
Oh, you see, this one, guys, I like this show. I learned so much of this show. What's intellectual humility?
Intellectual humility, you telling yourself that not everyone is always to blame.
Yes.
Oh, I could be wrong as well.
Yes.
So it's when you learn to be aware of your own unconscious biases.
Yes.
Or your prejudices.
Yes.
Or your own weaknesses.
Yes.
Or whenever someone is telling you about something that's uncomfortable, tell yourself that I also can be a difficult person. Because mostly what determines an uncomfortable conversation sometimes is because it's actually coming from someone who you think is a difficult person.
Yes.
Or is a toxic person.
Yes.
So if you are intellectually humble, it means you're also able to know that you too can be difficult. You too can be toxic. But until you realize that, you will always think it's the other person. And whenever that happens, that's where we talk about offense and defense. When you're talking to someone and you offend them, that is an uncomfortable conversation.
Yes.
They, in turn, tend to be defensive. And that makes them
feel uncomfortable.
Yes, feel uncomfortable and make you uncomfortable. So that's like 2 wrongs trying to make a right, when both of you have equally just involved yourselves in that uncomfortable context.
Yes.
And until both of you have that type of intelligence, you find that uncomfortable conversations will always be very difficult.
Yes.
And they will never be comfortable.
And I think that is quite helpful in terms of a lesson that. And I think that can be applied to any situation, as I said, marriage, friendships, whatever. That if you can actually humble yourself to know that I equally can make mistakes, I equally can get things wrong, I equally can put my foot or step over the line or step over the mark, I equally can sometimes talk out of context. When you are able to humble yourself, as you say, to know that you can also be that person, you give somebody else grace. And in this life, we all need to learn to give our counterparts and each other grace, because we're not perfect. And therefore, when you give somebody grace, you allow them and you see them from a different perspective. Rather than being defensive, you actually are now giving them grace to say, okay, I hear you. Okay, what are you saying? Okay, I get it. Okay, you've got a different opinion to me. Okay, let me hear you. I could be wrong. Okay, and you actually unravel that uncomfortable conversation. And rather than now it being an offensive, And a war, we're actually breaking down the barriers and we're relaxing and we're talking and we're navigating the conversation. We're trying to understand each other. We're trying to understand if it's to look for a solution, we're working together to look for a solution rather than maybe competing for a solution. You know, the agenda of that conversation becomes very different because you both exercise intellectual humility, as you say, by stepping down. And you're not both coming at it like this.
No, and I also think it's one of the solutions to how you can start an uncomfortable conversation because you're giving that person, whoever you're talking to, that space to notice that you're not the perfect one. You're not saying it from a judgmental point of view, but you're saying it from an equal partnership point of view where you're also taking ownership. Just in case they think you are the difficult person. You acknowledging it makes them want to acknowledge if they are also like that. But that's if they also have that kind of intelligence.
And you know what? That's deep. That's deep advice, because I think if everybody took that on, no matter what conversation we're talking about, whether it's in a family context, a workplace context, friendship context, if everybody took on that kind of a role of always seeing and trying to play themselves as understanding where they come from and who they are as a person in order to allow the other person to be, so many conversations would actually be had in the fullness of how they should be had. So many things would actually be resolved without quotation marks or question marks or assumptions, presumptions. So many things could actually be resolved fully because people actually allow the conversation to be had fully. And I think one of the things with uncomfortable conversations that when they're not had properly is that they leave question marks. So even a conversation that you entered into hoping for resolution, if it's an uncomfortable conversation and you entered into it hoping for a resolution and nobody backed down, nobody exercised humility, you actually leave that conversation with more confusion than how you entered. You might even feel like, I wish I hadn't even had that conversation. It didn't help anything. In fact, it just made me feel worse. I'm actually even more confused. Now even to try and have it round two is even more uncomfortable because we've got a layer of an uncomfortable conversation that would never happen properly. So now trying to even restart it again on another occasion is like double uncomfortable. Now it's really uncomfortable. And it's just because in the first moment we got it wrong.
And a lot of relationships, family unions have suffered. Family relationships have literally broken down because of the lack of uncomfortable conversation. People shy away from it. We shy away from it to an extent where we end up actually risking having that flaw in the relationship because they're so sensitive, they're so difficult. And when it's, for example, say grief, it's so deep as well that sometimes it can be painful to have, and out of wanting to be safe, people would rather create that war, and then relationships die. It's so sad.
And I think grief is one of the reasons why we decided to have this conversation, and we're going to touch on it in terms of grief, because I know that your husband unfortunately passed away from cancer. But what I respected when I heard you talk about the story is that uncomfortable conversation that he had with you guys as a family, knowing that he was going and being able to stipulate how he wanted things to be done on his departure. And I think for his part, that was a very brave, uncomfortable conversation that he had to have, that he knew that he had to do, even when he didn't really know what day, because we don't know what day we're going to go. And whatever day that he decided to actually start laying some of these things out, he didn't necessarily know the day, but the uncomfortableness of it is that he said, I still need to do this because I know what may come after I'm gone if I don't do this. And he made that brave decision to have the uncomfortable conversation with you, to have the uncomfortable conversation with your children, to say, this is what's going to happen, I'm going, this is what I want to happen when I'm gone, this is how I want you guys to be when I'm gone, this is how life might be when I'm gone. But I think what I'm struggling now, hearing you say that, what I'm struggling to maybe grapple with is that, do we all have to go through something traumatic and life-changing health conditions, serious illness, life-threatening illness, for us to have those conversations? Is that the trigger for everybody? to become comfortable with an uncomfortable conversation is a health or life event that's gonna potentially guarantee your death or could have killed you. It's important to have some of these things that we don't talk about because we just think, oh, it's not gonna affect me. Well, I don't need no life insurance. I don't need this. But we're not talking about them, and then we're not getting them, and then people are dying. People are getting into situations. Families are erupting. Arguments are happening. We don't know where somebody wants to be buried. We don't know whether they got any money. We don't know whether they got the life insurance. We don't know what we do with the mortgage, and all of it is piling down when somebody's passed away, and we're dealing with grief on top of all these things that we didn't have to deal with. And that's why I said at the beginning of this podcast that I respect your husband for his bravery in knowing that was an uncomfortable conversation, knowing that video was probably not going to be comfortable for his friends to see, but knowing in that moment how essential that thing was, how essential he was brave enough to come out of how uncomfortable it made him. Maybe, as much as he said to you, I'm sorry for you guys, I'm sure it wasn't easy for him in his own mentals. We can never know, but in his own mentals, that still wasn't an easy video to do. But he knew that if I don't do this, the chaos it will leave behind, I have to do this. And that's the selflessness. That is the selflessness that he exercised in that moment, in that bed, wherever he was when he wrote that video, to say, this is uncomfortable even for me to hold my phone and record this and say, I'm going to send this to my friends. This is hard. I can't believe I'm sending this to my boy. I'm sending him this video. But this is not about me.
I know.
This is about them. And that was an act of selflessness. Because he's not here. Whatever drama could have erupted, he's long gone. And there are different ways that we can make uncomfortable conversations comfortable. We spoke about them, but the most important thing is to have the conversation. So guys, thank you.
Sheila, I've got a question.
Oh, have you? Okay, yes.
When you say you really have to have them, do you always have to have them?
Well, I guess this is what I was saying before. No. I don't know how to know when to not to have them. I guess for me that's probably where I could learn more, because I think I'm a character that I don't always know when to not have a conversation. I think it's in my nature, based on just the fact that I guess my character, my job has also really made me very defensive about a lot of things. And so I think not all of us know when to walk away and when a conversation shouldn't be had. And when it's appropriate not to have them. But I think what I've learned from you, from what I've heard you say in terms of sometimes you just need to let people be, is that it's good to understand and navigate when it's appropriate to leave a conversation behind and what's the ultimate outcome. And if you're dealing with a situation where you're trying to have it because you're trying to be a savior, I guess, and I say this to myself more than anything, you're trying to have it because you think you're going to solve everything with that conversation, that expectation of it is what sometimes can make that conversation go wrong. And so know yourself and know the reason why you are so invested in wanting to have that conversation. What's that conversation going to ultimately bring about? And actually, if it's not bringing about anything good, then hey, leave it.
Because the reason I'm saying it is because I think there's different types of uncomfortable conversations. There's some conversations which are worth having if either they're going to clear the air or they're going to educate someone or make someone really think and reflect, especially when they're handled in a nice way. But then there's another type where people unnecessarily, out of wanting to solve problems, or out of wanting to have that control, and they're not conscious of it, they can easily start the conversation. So for example, when you're talking about how would you feel if, say, you've got your group of friends, and you always do things together, but on one occasion they just decide to leave you out. And then you're tempted to sort of say, listen, why did you leave me out? And automatically that's likely to be an uncomfortable conversation, because what if it's something that they don't want to tell you because it's going to make you feel awkward? It's going to make you feel a certain way. So I think if you are tempted, I was reading this book from Mel Robbins. this American a writer, and she talks about what is called the let them theory. So in instances like that, just let them be. So someone was saying, yeah, but if you let them, it's like as if you're sort of giving up. Is that the same as let them because you're so angry that it's gonna affect you? No. What she was trying to say is just let them, so that you can let you do what you also want to do.
Yes.
So if you let them leave you out, just give them the space.
Yes.
It's nothing to do with you.
Yes.
Just don't overthink it.
Yes.
If you let them do that, you figure out what to do with the time.
Yes.
So for example, if you've got a guy, say, who's asking you out, they're always not turning up. They're always shouting at you.
Yes.
They're always doing things that are actually awful.
Yes.
The let them theory will say, just let them be. But then one will argue saying, no, but then if I let them, I need to tell them off.
Myself.
I need to shout at them. But then it's like when you let them be who they are, you're letting you see what exactly they're like.
Wow.
You're letting you decide. So sometimes the let them might mean disengagement.
Yes.
So that you actually observe from afar to see exactly what they're doing.
Yes.
If you're not responding, their true colors are showing more.
Yes.
And then that gives you the space to actually think and figure out if you really want to be in that type of relationship.
Yeah.
Whereas if you shout at them, bang on, shout at them all the time, you're depriving yourself of seeing who they are.
Yeah, that's really good.
And then you're stuck in that relationship.
Yes.
Because it becomes a toxic relationship in the environment that you really don't want to be in.
Yeah.
But if you let them, then you let you become yourself.
Yes.
You let you have that space to reflect and to figure out what you want to do without the pressure.
Yes.
You also let them be themselves without you giving them pressure. Otherwise, you're now creating that uncomfortable conversation that can potentially be avoided if you let them.
And I think what I'm hearing from you is that you're not only avoiding an uncomfortable conversation, what you're avoiding is an uncomfortable conversation which has no result. Because often in a conflict like that, the way you're going to approach it, you're probably not going to get the answer back that's as fulfilling as you would have wanted. Yeah. So actually what's happening in that moment is that you've attacked and they're attacking back and you've attacked again and they've attacked back and there's been no resolution. It's just been an uncomfortable awkwardness. Yeah. And I think what we spoke about is the difference between uncomfortable and awkward. Yeah. And actually, rather than that being an uncomfortable conversation, it's actually an awkward conversation. Yeah. It's achieved nothing. It's created the atmosphere of awkwardness. We're now like doing the awkward laugh, and we're now trying to mask over it, or
you're contracting the toxicity.
Yes.
You're now becoming a part of that whole spiral abusive setup where you're not giving yourself time to step back and watch exactly who they are.
Yes.
You know when they say, if someone shows their true colors, believe them first time.
Yes.
If someone tells you they love you, don't listen to them. Watch what they do. Because that's who they are. You're letting them and letting you see what you're dealing with enough to decide whether you really want to be dealing with that or not.
So sometimes, I've learned, sometimes let them be
you.
So that
let them so you can let you be you. Let them be them.
Yes.
And so that you create space to let you find out and figure out how you can navigate your way through whatever it is.
Yes. Wow, thank you so much. That has been so insightful. Wow, I love coming here. I love doing this show. I think definitely, guys, if you want to see more episodes of Uncomfortable Conversations, there are so many topics. We've spoken about grief and we have touched on other topics, but I think there are so many uncomfortable conversations that we don't want to have in different areas, and that there are also so many that we don't need to have, as we've heard, and that we can let people be, let ourselves be. So drop a comment in the box below. Let us know what other topics you'd want us to explore on Uncomfortable Conversations, and let us know if this episode helped you. We really want to know if you guys have been helped by this episode. And thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. Thank you, Gertis, for having me.
Thank you. And make sure you have those uncomfortable conversations with yourself before you can have them with anyone else, or before you can manage them when someone else brings them on to you.
Thank you.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.